Have you heard about these 15-minute cities?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how real it is. I heard that they're implementing it as sort of a trial in certain places. There's talks about it in Australia and in Canada. And the concept, if sold, in the right way, sounds kind of cool, but it's also really fucked at the same time. Um, I believe the concept is to sort of construct these areas where you have access to everything that you would need to live and survive in a radius of 15 minutes of where your house would be. But the long term goal is to sort of control where people are essentially going, like because part of the 15-minute city is also putting up cameras everywhere and tracking people's movements and license plates. So if you go out of your 15-minute zone, you're only allowed to do so, I don't know, however, so often that they allow. And
or you have a valid reason.
Right. So I don't know to what extent the control would go, but just the fact that it's even something that can be considered, we know that people will exploit that. We know that it will gradually get worse and worse and worse. So I kind of don't like it. I don't like the concept in terms of it can be used to control people, but also the concept is kind of interesting because it makes certain things more convenient, I guess, in a way. But you don't need to set up a 15-minute city to make cities more convenient. You can just make them more convenient without making a 15-minute city.
Yeah, which I think alludes to like maybe the real intention behind doing them. I don't know, but it seems more like a mechanism for control. It's so interesting, right? Because a 15-minute city, can you imagine just like, the majority of your life being lived in a 15-minute radius? Like, I cannot imagine that. If you've ever traveled, you know that the world is humongous and is largely unpopulated by people, like largely unpopulated. Like there is just vast amounts of space out there. And to think that, like we are, or, have historically been relatively free to explore that, technology has enhanced our abilities to, increase the range and the distance that we can go and explore and how long it takes, etc. But like, I just can't imagine being constrained to a 15-minute radius. And it seems mind-boggling that would be the case. So on that point, if a country or a city has 15-minute cities, that country and that city would go to the bottom of my list. I would not be barged and move into one of those places.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think it should get to that point where people start making decisions. Like we can't let it get to that point. Like I feel like Australia, Canada's already restrictive enough as it is. So
we had that in the pandemic. You weren't allowed to leave your local area, right? Like if you got caught outside your area, you got fined or bad stuff happened to you. So I like. This was like, there was a pre-run for this here in this country. I know that it happened in the UK as well. What about, do you remember when they bloody banned people from exercising? Like they put like sand in skate parks and like they blocked off like basketball rings and like they locked off parks. Like in Australia and in the US, they were putting sand, like they had bulldozers putting sand inside like skate rinks and stuff like that to stop people from exercising during the pandemic.
So they wasted tax dollars on this bullshit. Like I mean, like we're losing our fucking minds, dude.
But it's over control. Like you see what I'm saying? Yeah. It's this over control of the power structure. That it just sees the statistics over people. It doesn't see the individuals. And it's never that good. Like it can't be that good. I think this is a good little segue. So as we were talking about this, I was thinking, if you just broadly look at America and China, right, just because they're two very easy examples, China seems to sort of, the belief structure there is it's all about the country, right? And the like China, whereas in America, historically, it's been very individualistic. They believe in the rights of the individual, whereas in China, it's more about like the rights of the country, right? Or the not necessarily the rights, like the importance of the country, so to speak. And it's less about the individual, more about the collective. Yeah, that's the easiest way to say it. More about the collective, less about the individual in China. And in America, it was more about the individual and less about the collective. And you look at the outcomes that they've had over the years, and, this is where capitalism has sort of thrived and innovation has come from. And, America has just had an amazing growth trajectory, right? And then now you can see it's more sort of like there's more laws, more rules, more regulations getting put on that are trying to make it more about the collective and less about the individual. So we all sacrifice individual rights for the greater good, but that's not guaranteed that it's the greater good. It's only based on the people that are trying to tell us that at the time, who all, have vested interests and incentives and all the rest of it. But I think for me, that's a huge thing that I look at and that I consider when looking for somewhere to live is, how does that country or that region or the geography, how do they see the individual? What rights does that individual have? What's the importance of the individual in that country? And I think that says a lot about a country.